Hey everyone, Johnny B here with Johnny B Codes, back for our 30 Days of API Challenge. This is day 8. In the last lessons, we learned about API keys and how they are used as a way to track usage and lock down endpoints. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at a new API that also utilizes API keys, but we're also going to learn about something called post requests. Up until now, we've been using strictly GET requests. Also, we're going to see kind of a whole new level of API. This video may run long, so this might actually turn into 2, maybe even 3 videos. So let's get started. The API we're going to learn about and use is called Clarify. So open up a browser and go to clarify.com. So up until now, we've been looking at some relatively simple APIs. We've been getting cat facts and cat images, but I wanted to include this API now to show that there are some really powerful tools available in the form of APIs beyond things like fetching a cat fact. So Clarify, what they do is kind of their mission statement here. You can gather valuable business insights from images, data, and text using machine learning, image recognition, and computer vision. Use data to drive business operations, enhance customer experience, from improving the digital experience to monitoring physical spaces. The practical possibilities of computer vision AI are endless. Okay, so it's a company that does computer vision, AI, and image recognition. So you'll see here things like face verification, aerial surveillance, demographic analysis, and this here is built for developers from the ground up. You can get started with 5,000 free operations each month. Request a free API key and start building today, so that's great. And we're going to start out here in the model gallery, okay? And just kind of get an idea of the things that you can do using this service. So for instance, Apparel Detection. So if we click in here and we see we have this picture of a woman in a dress, and you have these concepts is what Clarify calls them. And so you'll have things like shoes, and the probability that it's a shoe according to the machine learning algorithm is that it's 100% shoes. Then you have a dress, 100% shoes, 100% bracelets, 93% sure. And then you can take a look at some of the other ones. You have all of these other things. It's pretty powerful what you can do, and you can even upload your own image via URL to have it analyze your own images. They also have things like color, and so here it's pretty cool. If you have, you can think of definitely applications for this. There's sometimes needs where maybe you have like a single image and then you want the background to be reminiscent of the dominant color of that image. And so you can see here that we have for this image, it's mostly blue, 58%, and then there's 8% black, 7%, etc., until it goes down to the least amount of color, which is this salmon. So that's pretty cool. Another cool one is face detection. So you have an image and it finds the faces and provides the bounding boxes of those faces. And then finally, the one that we're going to be using is general, okay? So this is just kind of a general model that recognizes over 11,000 different concepts, including objects, themes, moods, and more. And so it's kind of just an all-purpose catch-all solution for most visual recognition needs. So we got some examples here. We have a sunset, and you can see over here the predicted concept and its probabilities. We have a dog here, and you can see his probabilities. Dog, almost 100%, grass, mammal, canine, cute, pet, puppy, etc. All right, so this is where we are going to be spending most of our time in this lesson. But first thing you're going to need to do is go and sign up. It's free. really quick and easy. So go do that, pause the video, and when you're done, come on back, because once you have logged in, signed up, you're going to end up here in the portal, okay? And there's a bunch of stuff that we can do in here, but the main thing, really the only thing that we're going to be doing is click into your first application. You can just leave it named as is, and what we need is the API key, okay? So either copy it now or leave this tab open, because we're going to need that in just a minute, and then come back to your general model page here. We can take a look at the documentation here. It shows us what the request is going to be like. Shows us what the response is going to be like. So you can see here, we get the status code, outputs, etc. Just kind of a bunch of metadata that we're not really interested in. What we want is this array of JSON objects right here, these concepts. So this is what we're after, okay? So it's an array of JSON objects that contains two properties that we're mainly concerned with, and that is the name and the value, okay? So the name is kind of the attribute that is detecting, and the value is the probability that it is correct, okay? So let's start here with the request. We can see that Clarifai actually has some libraries for JavaScript, Python, Java, and Objective-C. But since we're learning about APIs and interacting directly with the APIs, we're going to stick with the curl example here. And so this is everything that we need to make the request to this endpoint. You can see here that it's going to be a post request, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And we have our endpoint, our URL endpoint. And this model ID right here. So each of their several models have different IDs, and right over here on the right, you'll see model ID. And that string right there, that is the model ID. That identifies which endpoint we're going to. All right, and then we have some headers, which we learned about in the last lessons. We have an authorization header with a key and your API key. So if you remember last time, when we had an API key, we put that here in the header. And I told you that sometimes the names are a little bit different, sometimes for the keys and for the values. So with our get cat breeds, the name of the header was x-api-key, and the value was just the API key. With this API, the name is authorization, and the value is key space, and then the API key, okay? And then we have this part right here, and this is new to us. Okay, so up until now, we've been dealing with get requests, and we weren't really passing any additional information except for an API key in the header or maybe a query parameter in the URL. And this right here, this is the request body, and you can see here that this is a JSON object. And the request body is basically an attachment of additional data that we can send with the request. When the server gets the request, it goes, okay, I am the general detection model for Clarifai, since we have sent it to that endpoint. And I've checked out the authorization header. These guys are all good. And the body here has given me some data with an image URL. So I'm going to go ahead and take this image URL, do my machine learning AI stuff back here on the server, and then send back these results that we get here. So let's take what we've learned here and go and make our Postman request to be able to see the data from our own URLs that we can provide and using our API key. Okay, so again, just to break this down, we have our URL endpoint, we have the request method, which is post, we have our headers, and we have our body for our network request. Okay, so opening up Postman, and we're gonna need a new request. So I'm gonna click right here and say add request, and I'm gonna go ahead and call this Clarifai general model request and say save. Okay, now we're going to click on that, and we're going to change this to post. because we can see here that this is a post method because we are including in the body of the request additional data to send to our endpoint. So it's a post request, and we have the endpoint URL right here. So I'm going to copy that, come back over here and paste it. Now we actually don't need the versions portion, that is optional. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that, and you should be left with this models/model ID/outputs, okay? So that's good. We're gonna go ahead and come back here and get our model ID so that the Clarify API knows which kind of model we are wanting to run analysis for. I'm gonna go ahead and save what we have so far. And then we have our headers next. So we have two headers, authorization and content type. So I'm going to come back here to Postman, go to our headers, and we are going to say authorization. And that should be one of the kind of common ones. So they have that there. And then our value is key space. And then we're going to need to come back to our Clarify application and copy our key. And then come back to Postman and paste it right there. Make sure that you have that space there. And then for our content type, the value is application. And then where are you at? Did I already pass it? Application, oh, there it is, application JSON. And save. And let's see here, anything else we need to do? Oh yeah, we need to do the body part. The main reason that we are talking about this is since this is a post, we need to pass a body. And with post requests, you have a number of different types of data that you can pass. You have something called form data, XWWW form, URL encoded, raw, binary, GraphQL. We're going to do raw and make sure you have JSON selected over here. And then coming back to our general model, we can pretty much just copy this right here. So from the opening curly brackets to the closing curly brackets, not getting that semicolon there, or just colon. All right, and then go ahead and just paste that in and save. And we'll go ahead and leave the sample image there for our first test, and let's run this and see. Ooh, all right, looks like we're good. We get this large parent JSON object with the status, the outputs, and again, what we want is here with the concepts. Very good. So let's go ahead and test this with one of our own images. I'm just gonna do a search for cat image and go to images, and let's grab this guy here and say copy image address, and then come back here to Postman and just drop that right here in our body and say send. And hey, here we go. All right, so we have our concepts. We have cat, we have cute, eye, kitten, fur. So this is what the Clarify data model sees, and along with the probabilities. So that is pretty darn cool. So I did kind of glaze over the body part of the post request. Like I said, there's a few different ways. These days you are going to predominantly see the body passed as a JSON object, which we've discussed. And this is going to change depending on the API. Sometimes it'll be something super simple like just maybe user ID with, some sort of string. This one is kind of nested and it didn't come out very well formatted, but that's okay. Let me see if I can bump those over. Nope. Yeah, so the body of a post request usually a JSON object. This is how you do it in Postman. And here is our data. And it's looking pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and stop this video here, and I'll see you in the next one.